Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Marla Billinghurst. I will be chairing the meeting this afternoon. With me on the panel this afternoon are Mr. Ron Merritt and Mr. Clay Purvis. Representing the assessment department is Mr. Mackenzie Omachinski, and our administrative personnel for this afternoon is Mr. Tristan Braden. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you may leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony, followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today, and the session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As for information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 6 and 7 on our docket today. Mr. Braden, please affirm the assessor's and the applicant's testimony.
Certainly. Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Mackenzie Omachinski.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Mr. Applicant, for item number 6, may you please state your full name?
Stephen Charlebois Page.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So the first matter we will be hearing on this afternoon's docket is number 6, 1011 Corridon Avenue. Mr. Assessor, please proceed when you are ready.
Thank you. This is file number 24-1337, roll number 1203-033-2100, address 1011 Corridon Avenue. Roll year 2025, reference date April 1st, 2023. Assessed value is $1,392,000. Classification 20, liability T. There is one building, 2 stories. The actual and effective year built is 1956. There is 14 suites and 5 outdoor parking spots. We'll go to page 3 here for the number of unit breakdown. So we have 6 bachelor units and 8 one-bedroom units for a total of 14. The average monthly rent per unit is $814.20. The gross potential rent is 136,786. The vacancy rate is 3.2%. The effective gross income is $132,409. The expense rate is 48.47%. The net operating income is 68,230. The capitalization rate is 4.9%, and the estimated market value rounded is 1,392,000, with a market value per suite of $99,428.57. We'll go to page 3 here. This is the rent comparables. So for these comparables, the effective year built ranges from 1953 to 1961. The total number of units, we got to range from 8 to 21. Number of bachelor units would be 0 to 4. Number of one-bedroom units would be 4 to 16. And number of two-bedroom units would be 0 to 8 for these comparables. The average monthly rent per unit ranges from $770 to $989. Continuing on to page 5, we have the capitalization rate information provided by the city. And then we have the page 6, which is our capitalization rate evidence. The following is a sample of actual sales that took place during the reference period. The purpose for showing these individual capitalization rates is to illustrate the accuracy of the model and substantiate the model-derived capitalization rates. They're not meant to be comparables specific to the subject property. Then we will move along to page 7, which is the Municipal Assessment Act excerpts, and then page 8, where we have an aerial photo of the property, and then there's a street photo of where the property is. And then from pages 9, 10 are some suite photos of 1011 Corden Avenue. And then page 11 to, let's see, 11 to 20 is the income and expense reports and the rent roll. This is combined with 2 other properties. So this would be 111 Corden Avenue, 114 Corden Avenue, and 117 Corden Avenue. So at the bottom, I just took the rent roll of December 2022 for 6 bachelor units and 8 one-bedroom units to get the rental income less the model vacancy, which gives us an effective gross income of $141,632.03 That would be my presentation. I am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Applicant, do you have any questions for the assessor?
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I do. So could I just confirm with you that the value presented today was model generated?
Yes, I'm going with the model generated value today.
Okay. Now, with respect to the chart on page 5, do you know how many sales were inputted into the multifamily for the model for the cycle?
I do not know the number of sales.
Is it, I guess, in relation to the chart you have on page 6, is it likely those would be the inputs?
Those would likely be some of the inputs, but this would be separate. This was separate evidence.
Okay.
From modeling itself.
Okay, so the calculations on page 6 are done by you and your team, and they're indicative of a cap rate that you guys have derived in your analysis. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah. These are
Yeah.
calculations done by my team.
Your team's work. Okay. Yeah. So now, can I ask you that a question in relation to that work? When you guys derive the cap rates there, and I'm speaking with relation to the chart on page 6, of course, are these 3 years income, a single year income, or what's available? Is that a fair estimation of the process?
To my knowledge, they are 3 years of income of stabilization.
For all of them.
I couldn't speak to all of them, but that's generally what the city would want to do is 3 years of stabilization. So
sure.
Mm-hmm.
And now, have you guys made adjustments to these for other considerations, or is this, to your knowledge, income over sale price?
I do not know if we've made adjustments with these cap rates specifically. All I know that there's been stabilizations done to each property to find the cap rate.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
Yes, Madam Chairperson. Mr. Omachinsky, has this building been renovated?
I looked into any permits that were taken out, and to my knowledge that there's no permits that were taken out, but it looks like from the suite photos that there maybe have some kitchen renovations done and possibly some flooring.
The pictures that that are on hand, did you take these pictures or are they from the site?
No, these are taken from the website.
Okay. So it looks like it's been renovated totally. And if I look a little further, in 2019, the renovations probably took place. Are you aware of that?
I am not, no.
Okay. They had a new roof at that particular time for close to $35,000, and they had windows put in for, it looks like $149,000. You aware of this?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Have you been to the building at all?
No, I have not been inside the building. It is in the neighborhood that I live in, so I've been past it many times, but not inspected.
So I note that this particular subject property has got 14 units, but there's only 5 parking spots. So is that a deterrent in regards to putting a value on a building?
It may be. I know that this building is close to like major bus routes, so some people who don't have a vehicle, it may not be a deterrent. But for others who do, that might be the case.
But a desirable neighborhood. I think the property's right on the corner, is it not?
Yes, it's on the corner of Harrow and Corden.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you.
Mr. Purvis, do you have any questions for the assessor?
I don't have any questions for the assessor.
Okay, thank you. I just have one question, please. On your rent comparables, you have all of the comparables say heat in rent. So heat included in rent, you have yes or why. But for the subject, there's nothing there. So is the heat included in the rent?
There was nothing that indicated that it was, just because we don't have it in the model. And then I did not see just through the breakdown of their I&E if it was included. So
Yeah, all I could see on that that it was hot water heat, but it didn't say anything specific as to utility. Okay, so you don't. That's unknown. Okay, thank you. That was my question. All right. Mr. Applicant, sorry. Please go when you're
Thank
ready.
you, Ms. Chair. So the subject property is a 2.5-story multifamily building built in 1956. Subject property has a site area of 6,047 square feet, contains 14 units. It's, on page 6 of my brief, you'll find pictures of street view and subject property exterior. The subject property is owned and operated as one business unit. It's comprised of 3 properties. I'll say 3 assessment roll numbers comprise one business unit. So those 3 properties are 1011 Corridon, 1014 Corridon, and 1017 Corridon. So 2 of these 3 will be before the board today. The financials for these assets are combined. So I noted, Mr. Chair, that you noted some expenses. I just want to note that 1017 Corridon is the largest of these 3 buildings. 1014 and 1011 will be, very similar. They're the same suite mix, same construction. And 1017 Corridon is a bigger building. It has 2-bedroom units. So in looking at those expenses and looking at the income, we'd be prudent to allocate that into, for our purposes today, we did 27% based on the total unit count. So if you'll look at page 15 of my brief where I've done that, there'll be a column noted as subject stabilized. And then next to it, it'll say 1011 Corridon, and that represents the 27% allocation I'm speaking of. And at the top of that page, you'll see it highlighted in green and purple, sort of that unit breakdown I discussed there, 22 units for 1017, which is the bigger of the three. Anything from that income and expense will be representative of the three total properties, and what we've done today is allocate it based on total units. So the current assessment of the subject property is 1,392,000 residential class. I've set aside the cost approach and the sales comparison approach for today, focused in on the income approach for this multifamily asset. And my income approach begins on page 13 of my report. So for the purposes of this review, I've applied an effective gross income of 137,211, which is based on the actual performance of the subject property allocated to 27%, as highlighted before. The allocation is laid out on the top of page 15, as I noted. So the actual expenses represent 45.8% of the EGI for an adjustment of 62,831. My NOI was 74,380, and I have capitalized that at 5.75%. I have attached a capitalization rate study in support of that adjustment. And I guess in regards to the subject property, considerations made were age and quality of finish. The attached study, I just will touch briefly on the fact that interest rates were rising into the valuation date of April 1st, 2023. And those macroeconomic factors are definitely affecting cap rates, as cap rates are calculated in part by that borrowing rate. Considering the income approach is a measure of investment yield, and that would be a strong contributor to that formula. So the attached study, the Altus apartment cap rate study, we've reviewed 6 sales there. They're ranging from 5.26 to 7.11%. We've stratified, sorry, I'll just flip back to my report here. So on the bottom of page 13 of my report, you'll see that we've stratified it by age. We have the category 1946 to 1969, which is 5.75% to 6.5%. I've chosen the bottom of that range given the location of the subject property and a few other factors. So I've chosen 5.75%. And if you'll go down to page 17, you'll see my reconciliation of value, which is 1,293,000. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm just making a note for 1 second.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the assessor have any questions for the applicant?
I do not. I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Merritt, you're on mute.
Right. Mr. Applicant, according to your evaluation, compared to the cities, your difference is $100,000. Your NOIs are pretty close to the same, but your cap rates are way off. So
yep.
This is why there's a difference there. So in your cap study, you selected the 5 3/4.
Correct.
Can you tell us why that might be applicable to the subject property?
Sure. So I think in establishing a range of cap rates, which we did, based on the sales that were available, we were able to find that range there between 5.26% and 7.11%. Now, the subject property itself represents an older property, 1956. I did note, or I guess you noted in your question to the assessor, that maybe some flooring was done. With regards to the rest of the interior, I would say that the finishings would be modest. You have, white appliances and certainly some older wooden style doors in there. So the consideration would be the age, the quality finish of the interior, and then as well the location. So I chose the bottom end of that age range, which we stratified on. Sorry, let me just get the right page of my report here. On the bottom of page 13.
Good. Have you been through the building at all?
I have not been through the building, only an exterior, like the assessor. So
I have no further question, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Mr. Purvis, do you have any questions?
I think my questions about the cap rate were answered by the applicant.
Thank you very much. I have no questions for the applicant at this time. So now we can move on to the applicant's rebuttal evidence.
thank you. I'll just give everyone a moment here to get it open. And I'll be beginning just briefly on pages 2 and 4, just so everyone is able to be mobile. 2 and 4, and then I'm going to jump to 22. So just give everyone a second. Are we all
For my own
there?
clarification, is the rebuttal evidence just the cap rate study?
No, it's the
yeah,
rebuttal
there.
to this. Oh, sorry, yeah, the rebuttal to the city's cap rate chart that they included.
I'm gonna refresh this again. I'm not.
My apologies. You said you're starting on page
There we
4.
go. Got it now.
Sorry, I'm going to go from pages 2 to 4 to 22.
Okay.
But I'm going to start. Yeah, just 2 will be just a small contextualization of where I'm headed.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
Panel members, is everybody able to see the rebuttal evidence in the SharePoint folder?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, great. I'll just proceed here. So this relates obviously to the capitalization rate evidence that the city provided in their report supplemental to what the model produced. On page 2, you'll see the range of sales indicating a 3.46 to 5.74% cap rate. I'll have you move to page 4 with me. I've highlighted there the sales of 727 Sargent and 241 Young. The city has indicated a cap of 3.46% and 4.21% respectively. These figures are well below the borrowing rate for the Bank of Canada, and you could get a government insured a GIC, a government insured investment of 4.5% as the valuation date. Now that's not the sole factor of a capitalization rate, but I did want to note that that would be outside the typical range and very aggressive for a market like Winnipeg. So now, to me, those a 3.46 there for a small property would be outside the typical range. Now I'd like to draw the board's attention quickly just to page 22, which is quite the flip. And all I'll note there is that the city is using the older sale on 677 Maryland at 2020. There is a newer sale, and our calculated cap on that is 7.11%. And yeah, so I just want to point out that sort of difference. And we do have a note there saying that if the city NOI was used at the 2023 sale, that cap would be at 6.2%. So ours does have a small delta from what the city NOI calculated was on that. But just to note the older sale there being used by the city. And that concludes what I was going to draw from the rebuttal evidence. So.
Thank you very much. Mr. Assessor, do you have any questions for the applicant regarding his rebuttal evidence?
I do not have any questions, no.
Thank you. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Purvis, do you have any questions?
None.
Thank you, nor do I. So, Mr. Assessor, do you have any rebuttal evidence?
I do. Yes, I will read that in now if everyone is ready.
Did I get a copy? Sorry, it might have come to me while I was talking. Oh,
No, it's okay. Your copy is currently on the way.
just give me one moment before you jump into it.
For sure.
Thank you. Mr. Assessor, is this in relation to a property tax recalculation on one of the sales?
For so which sale would that be?
Your rebuttal evidence, is it in relation to the? Or sorry, I just received it. I was just going to say you could proceed if that was, but
Yeah.
I have it now.
This
So
is that the assessor presents his rebuttal evidence now, and then you can ask him questions after he presents it.
yeah, sorry, I was just wondering if that's what it was because anyway, but I'm good. I'm with you. Please proceed.
Perfect. So this is just a City of Winnipeg analysis of the Altus 2025 cap rate analysis or cap rate sales analysis. So we're looking at 5 sales here for the rebuttal. Sales 1 to 3, we don't believe have enough income and expense information to calculate a stabilized NOI. So we don't believe that those cap rates would be usable there. Sale 4, so that would be 100 Maryland Street. There's no actual income or expenses involved in the calculation of the net operating income, so we don't believe that would be usable for evidence for a cap rate. And then sale 5, the potential gross income utilized by Atlas is not based on historically reported information, which the city would want historically reported information. So we don't believe that is correctly stabilized either. So we'll go to page, sorry, 2. So this is 345 Talbot, just showing that there's only 1 year of income and expense information, and we don't believe that that would be sufficient for determining cap rates. And then we'll just jump to page 4, which is the same thing, essentially. Page 6, this would also be what I spoke about before. It's just the 1 year of income and expense information being insufficient. And then we'll jump to page 9, where you can just see for the 100 Maryland Street, their Alta stabilization, there's no information, and they're just using CMHC, which we wouldn't use for determining a cap rate for a cap rate study. And then the last page here, page 10, is the 2390 McPhillip Street. And then this is the Altus calculation. Average rent levels are inconsistent with the rents reported to the prior year. So on the following page, page 11, we have a City of Winnipeg stabilization for 2390 McPhillips. And you can see at the bottom there that it would be 4.71 capitalization after our stabilization work. And that would be the rebuttal presentation. So I'm open for questions now.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Applicant, do you have any questions for the assessor regarding his rebuttal evidence?
Maybe just a comment. I won't comment too deeply on some of the more, I guess, forensic or detail-oriented comments made. But one note in regards to the years of financial information used to calculate these caps or what details we've used. I guess to the best of our ability, in line with appraisal theory, we've derived cap rate sales, and I know there's not an abundance of sales. And what makes this more difficult from our aspect is—
Sorry, I don't mean to. Do you have any questions for the assessor regarding? Because it sounds like you're doing a summary of your presentation, which we'll get to. Don't worry, we will get.
I only have a comment to make in regards to multiple years of income and expense when we don't represent some of the properties, or it's not available to the public. So that's the difficulty there. But that's the only comment I'd make in regards to the rebuttal, but I can save that for summary. So I'll move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions for the assessor?
I have none, Madam Chairperson. Thank you.
Mr. Purvis.
I have no questions.
Thank you, nor do I. So then we can move on to a summary. So Mr. Assessor, do you have the need to summarize your presentation today?
Sure. I would just point to, I am going with the model value. I do believe that it is reasonable. Even if we had increased the cap rate to 5.3%, we would still be under the current assessed value, but I do believe the model capitalization rate of 4.9% is reasonable just due to the neighborhood, the desirability of the neighborhood, and the size of the building. That would be my summary. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Applicant, you would like
Thank
to
you.
present a summary, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I will. Just briefly, I'll just say that I believe the capitalization rate applied to the subject property is a little aggressive, given the age of the property, given the parking situation there. It isn't a good location, but based on our study and where we've stratified it in, a 5.75% seems reasonable. And just, I will note on the rebuttal evidence provided by the city, private taxpayers, and firms such as Altus do not have access necessarily to 3 to 5 years on all of these properties. And with respect to the calculations done, they've been done and vetted in the mind of the best practices of appraisal theory. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. That now concludes this matter, and we can move on to the next matter on this afternoon's docket, which is number 7, and the property address is 1014 Corydon Avenue. And I believe there is somebody else who is representing the applicant on this. Can you please swear him in?
Absolutely. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Ashar Abbas.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much.
Or just 1 second, please. All right, sorry, thank you. Mr. Assessor, please proceed when you are ready.
Thank you. So this is file number 24-1338, roll number 1203-0369-000. Address is 1014 Corydon Avenue. The roll year is 2025. Reference date April 1st, 2023. The assessed value is $1,396,000. Classification 20, liability T. There's one building with 2 stories. The effective and actual year built is 1955. The number of suites would be 14, and there is also 6 outdoor parking spots. We'll go to page 3. So this is a unit breakdown. It'd be the same as the other buildings. There are 6 bachelor units, 8 one-bedroom units for a total of 14 units. Average monthly rent per unit is $816.03. The gross potential rent is $137,093. The vacancy rate is 3.2%. The effective gross income is $132,706. The expense rate is 48.47%. The net operating income is $68,383. The capitalization rate is also 4.9%. The estimated market value rounded is $1,396,000. The market value per suite is $99,714.29. The next page is the comparables. So we have a range of 1950, effective year built range of 1953 to 1961. The range of units would be 8 to 21. The bachelor units would be 0 to 4. One bedroom would be 4 to 16, and 2 bedroom would be 0 to 8, with a range of for the average monthly rent per unit being $770 to $989. Next page is the capitalization rates information provided by the city, and then the evidence on the following page, which I read in previously. Then we have the Municipal Assessment Act excerpts on page 7. 8 is another aerial aerial view of the property, and then a street photo of where the property is. And then we have some additional interior photos on the following pages. So from pages 9 to 10, and then from 11 to 21 is the statement of earnings and the rent roll. And at the bottom is that same calculation, just implemented on 1014 from the last. So it's the breakdown from the rent roll for the 6 bachelor units and 8 one-bedroom units for the rental income, and then we get the less vacancy for an estimated gross income of $141,632.03. That would be my presentation. Thank you for listening. I am open for questions now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Applicant. Do you have any questions for the assessor?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Assessor, can you confirm if this value presented today is a model generated value?
This is a model generated value, yes.
Okay, thank you. My next question would be regarding the parking condition, the parking situation over here. Would you agree that it is the parking ratio over here is less than 1 and would be considered less desirable?
Yes, I would consider overall, if you are a person who owns a vehicle, that would be something that you would want.
Okay, perfect. And then third question would be regarding the rent comps that you presented on page 4.
Hmm.
Just a quick question would be on that. Looking at your comp 1, it has 16 one-bedroom units compared to our 8 one-bedroom units. And then your comp 4 also has 8 two-bedroom units, and our subject does not have any two-bedroom units. Would you agree that a two-bedroom would typically rent for a higher price than a one-bedroom, and then the average monthly rent over here would be a bit inflated?
Yes, I would say that two-bedroom units would rent for higher typically.
Okay, perfect. Those were all my questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions for the assessor?
Yes, Madam Chairperson. This is the building probably next door or whatever, runs down Corridon.
Yeah, just on the other side of Arrow.
The same as what we had at 1011 Corridon. There's 14 suites in there, and there's also, I think there's 6 parking stalls compared to 5, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is there pictures of the interior, or is it the very same as the 1011 Corridon?
So at the bottom of my brief, I did include photos, and you can see from the photos that these do not have the same finishes. These would be more dated finishes than 1011 Corridon Avenue.
So it hasn't been renovated at all, or according to your knowledge, no
Yeah, to
permits
my knowledge.
or anything like that? No
Correct.
permits taken out? Okay.
No.
Okay. And you feel as if there's just a year difference in regards to the previous property, and you feel as if the 4.9 cap is applicable to the subject?
I do believe it is still applicable as the model for the model cap rate.
And I note that the expenses are a little higher, a touch higher for this particular property, but expenses do run differently, so that's a given. I think that's all the questions I have, Madam Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Purvis, do you have any questions for the assessor?
I don't have any questions.
Nor do I. Right, so thank you very much. And Mr. Applicant, please proceed with your presentation when you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if we scroll to page 2, we'll find a summary of key details about the property along with our requested assessment for the property today at $1,293,567. If you further scroll down to page 6 and 7, I've included visual references of the picture. There's an aerial map, a picture of an aerial map, and then there's an exterior photo of our subject property, and then a Google map view of the location. On page 8, I've given a brief description of the property. The subject property is situated on the southwest corner of Corridon Avenue and Harrow in Winnipeg's Crescentwood area. It's a 2-story apartment block constructed in 1955 with no effective age assigned. The subject property has a total of 14 units, including 6 bachelor and 8 one-bedrooms. If the board may turn to page 13, we have the overview of our income approach. Just bear with me. So we are applying an effective gross income of 137,211 or 816 per unit per month based on the actual income reported. We have reviewed the actual expenses, and we are applying expenses of 62,831 thousand. 62,831 or 45.8% of effective gross income. On the bottom, we have the overview of our cap rate study, cap rate summary. So we are disputing the cap rate in place today. We are applying a cap rate of 5.75% based on our cap rate summary chart below, on the same page 13. Further, if you move down on page 15, we have our income and expense breakdown on page 15. So this property runs side by side. I mean, it's on the opposite side, but it is identical to the property presented before this 1011. So we are using the same allocation we used for 1011. We are allocating the income and expenses of by the number of units, which comes down to 27%. The income has been stabilized based on the most recent year, resulting in an effective income, gross income. Again, I'll present that. It's at 137,221. I have grayed out the column for 1014 quadrant, in which I am of which the numbers I'm presenting. Further down, we have 3 years of expense data. Typically, expenses are stabilized based on the most recent year, as most expenses tend to increase over time. However, there are expenses that are known to fluctuate over the years, such as professional fees, office supplies, or utilities. So for that, we have used a 3-year average to account for those variations. So we have our total expenses at 62,831 with an NOI of 74,380, and with an applied cap rate of 5.75% gives us an indicated value of 1,293,567. I would just like to mention one more thing to the board, that if you move down to the appendix after page 18, there are pictures that were taken from the property's website. These were the marketing photos that were being used, and we can look at the condition of the property. There have not been any renovations made to this particular property, 1014. The kitchen cabinets are updated. The units are all carpeted, and if you look at the bathroom photo that I have attached over here, the vanity looks old, the bathtub looks old. So just wanted to put it out over here that by looking at the pictures that were being used on the property's website, the property have not received any renovations. And that would conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Assessor, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, Madam Chairperson. Mr. Abbas, you are representing the owner of this property?
Sorry?
You are representing the owner of this property?
We are representing our client, yes.
Okay.
If not directly, it would be the owner. It would be if I'm not right now, I'm not 100% aware if our client is the owner or if they're the property management, but I'm guessing it is the property management. Yes.
Okay. So who hired you to represent this property?
I am part of the Altus Group team.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know. It's very funny that one assessor's doing one building and you are doing this one. So I just had to ask that question in that regard.
Okay.
So you do work for Altus?
Yes.
Okay. The workings of this property is very similar to the previous property that we heard. So do you consider them sister buildings?
Yes, these are sister buildings. And Mr. Charleboy Page, who presented before me and myself, we worked on the valuations of these properties together.
So curiosity gets the best of me. So what happened to the other property? Just
The
offhand.
other, yes, the other property was also appealed, and I think it was heard before this property. It was scheduled before the property. Just a
Yeah.
schedule, just a time difference in scheduling.
All right. Thank you. So you've concluded value in regards to what you're seeking with an NOI of $74,380,000 and a cap rate of 5.75, and you get a value of $1,293,000.
1,293,000 if you round off, yeah.
So very similar to the previous one that we heard then?
It is, if I am not wrong, this would be identical to the same value as we were asking for the other one. I mean, these three buildings report all their incomes and expenses together as one. So we have allocated the income and the expenses based on the number of units. And this property that I'm presenting and the property that was presented before mine by Mr. Shalabapage, they both have the same unit breakdown. So yeah.
So do you get a financial statement in regards to all three properties then? And then you just break it down?
No, that is the thing. We are getting one financial statement for all of the three properties. I have attached that as well. Just give me 1 second. I'll take you to that. So
I think you did it on a percentage basis, so that's fine. But the other property is not under appeal, so I'm not going to bring that into effect. So I thank you for your answer, sir, very kindly. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you. Mr. Purvis, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I don't have any questions.
You, nor do I. So was there rebuttal evidence on this matter as well?
Madam Chair, we did include the rebuttal for this, and it will be the same thing present that Mr. Shalabapage presented earlier. If you would want, if you would want us to present it again, I would request Mr. Shalabapage to present it on behalf of this property.
Or we can,
It would have to be resubmitted and we would have to swear in the applicant again. So if that is your plan, then you would have to submit the rebuttal evidence.
It was submitted for both the properties, if I am correct on that.
Yeah, sorry for the confusion. It was submitted for both properties as Altus was representing both, just under two individuals from the same company. But if there's confusion there, I apologize.
okay, so if you wanted to apply to this one, it has to be resubmitted. And then if Mr. Charlebois will be speaking to it, you will have to be, I guess, re-sworn in. And however, I think it's sufficient to say you could give a very high level summary. So is that the plan?
Oh, was that for me or Mr. Shalabapage? Because I was one, I thought maybe you're talking to Mr. Shalabapage and he's presenting.
Okay, so if you are going to have it apply to this property, then
Yes.
it will be submitted. Mr. Braden?
I'll just resubmit it. I'll
Right. So
send that email again, but it'll be 1 second. It was actually included on on my email submission. I did include both addresses specifically. I don't know if that factors into if we can.
Yeah, no, that is fine. We would just need, like I said, we would just need to swear you in again.
Yeah. So you
yeah. Please proceed. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Stephen Charlebois Page.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much.
All right, then now that we've conquered the administrative part.
Yeah, sorry about that if I wasn't detailed enough with that, so my apologies.
Problem. Just as I said, you can
Yeah.
give us a high level summary if you
Yeah, I'm going to keep it as brief as possible. We just went over this. The circumstances are very much the same. It's the same study from both sides, same rebuttal. Just pages 2 and 4. We have this city submitted some supplemental sales ranging from 3.46 to 5.74%. Just highlight those macroeconomic factors: borrowing rates, 4.5% GIC leading into the valuation date. It seems that the investors, or if the purchasers of that were buying an alternative investment opportunity and not the income in place. And I without seeing the back end of that study, all I can do is surmise and say perhaps that the income in place was just used and consideration wasn't made for exterior forces, or alternative forces there in that buying of that property for 727 Sargent. And then quickly touch on 677 Maryland. Again, the city's using the older sale of 2020. There's a newer sale. That cap is calculated at 7.11% by Altus. And if you use the income in place by the city, it was just north of 6. And that concludes sort of where we're going with the rebuttal. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Assessor, do you have any questions for the applicant regarding this rebuttal?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Merritt.
I have none, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Purvis?
No questions.
Okay, nor do I. So, Mr. Assessor, do you have rebuttal evidence you would like to present?
It would be the same evidence. I think this was my fault where I said I did not state that it would be carried over for the remainder of the properties in the docket, but I can also briefly go over mine again. I'll keep it very brief. So this is the rebuttal to Altus 2025 cap rate sales analysis. We're looking at 5 sales here. This is 345 Talbot Ave, 677 Maryland Street, 738 St. Mary's Road, 100 Maryland Street, and 2390 McPhillip Street. And just on page 1 here, the sales 1 to 3. We don't believe that 1 year of income and expense information is sufficient to calculate a stabilized net operating income. Sale 4 would be no actual income and expense involved in the calculation of net operating income. And then sale 5 is potential gross income utilized by Altus is not based on historically reported information. I believe it's incorrectly stabilized. And that would be my presentation of the rebuttal evidence. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Applicant. Do you have any questions for the assessor on his rebuttal evidence?
Madam Chair, I don't have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Merritt.
No, thank you.
Mr. Purvis?
I have no questions.
Nor do I. So is there a need, or would any party like to make a summary?
No summary is needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant?
No summary needed. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, because that concludes this matter. And we have heard all the items scheduled this afternoon, and this hearing is now adjourned. So have a lovely afternoon and a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, happy
Have a good-
holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chairperson, can we take 5?
Absolutely.
All right, thanks.